Welcome to Badger Beer Hour, where we are bundling up for the blizzard here. We will have, let's see here, where's my list? We're looking at news here. We got a couple openings. We're going to have the scoop on the Lining Google's brew pub inside of Miller, oh, uh, American Family Field, as well as an overview of the year that was the beer industry in Wisconsin in 2022. We're going to have one of the biggest newsmakers of the month here with Kyle Metz from the startup Black Rose Blending in Madison. I am excited to hear about all these details. We will have a few events, and all of this wonderfulness starts right now.
Chris, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Landon. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Great to hear. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
We got some news.
We've got some news.
Well, yeah. I mean, December, we couldn't keep up the pace. We could not keep up the pace of the fall. I mean, that things are going crazy there. But
yeah,
I think it's retreated to a more reasonable and sustainable level for yours truly, at least.
Yeah. The first story, it actually combines my neck of the woods with your neck of the woods. It's amazing.
Yeah, we've got necks. We're necking, Landon.
Yeah. It's nice.
So this is a matchup made in heaven. The Brewers and the the Milwaukee Brewers and Brewers. The Leinie Kugels is taking over the restaurant space that was above overlooking left field. Used to be the Fridays Front Row Grill or something like that, and then it was this horrible. I mean, it was like I picked the name of this restaurant. It was called the Restaurant to be Named Later. A player to be named later in a trade. I when they announced that, I couldn't believe it because it was so weird, and it was like 3 years. Anyway, the new tenant or the new occupant of this space, which is kind of like one of the premium spaces in the stadium, which is, by the way, American Family Field is what we're talking about, not Miller Park. Do not call it Miller Park; they will get mad at you. It's going to be called J. Leinenkugel's Barrel Yard. J being Jacob Leinenkugel, the who founded the brewery back in like 18. Landon, do you know it's long?
I'm really bad with dates, but yeah, it's the 1800s.
18, like early, like mid, like not even like.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not just going to be a restaurant that's branded Leinenkugel's. They're actually putting a brewery in there. So. There's a 3-barrel system, and they're going to make beers exclusive to the ballpark. And the Leinie's folks say that it'll be flexible enough that it will allow them to deliver as much beer as our fans will allow us. Not sure, whatever, but this is a quote from Tony Buer, who's now that's Dick's nephew. We're gonna have maybe we should have Tony on sometime.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yep, 6th generation owner of the Leinenkugels family. Despite the name, I'm sure that was the point of discussion and like who's going to take over this whole thing. It's like, well, he's not. I knew he's a Leinenkugel, but he's not named Leinenkugel. Anyway, so this barrel yard is going to have 48 draft lines. And Leinie's brewmaster said this: that we're looking to bring back everything from our hibernated beers. From our 155 years of history. There we go. So what is that? 1880 something, 30, 70 something. Okay. 155 years ago. All the way to the new innovations our fans demand. So we're going to see some milkshake IPAs from Leinie's in this thing. Maybe. I don't know if that's what they demand. That's Leinenkugel's master brewer, John Hensley. Like this seems so obvious, and the Brewers actually said this. This is a quote from Rick Schlesinger, the vice president of like operations or something. We came up with a concept that probably seemed obvious, Yes, brewers in the Brewers ballpark. Why not have a space in the ballpark where we actually brew beer? Over the years, I've received that advice from many fans. Yes, all of it made sense. Yes, it just took a couple years for it to come to fruition.
A little more than a couple. Yeah.
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 Like, why? Like, we're not that far gone from Miller Park here. It seems like they should just have.
Well,
like,
and
should have been the first idea.
When they made the ballpark, you would have thought that would have been like the first thing to go in there, right? Because Coors Field has a brewery in it. So
right. Blue Moon was born at Coors Field.
Right.
Yeah. Or something like that. I don't know. And of course, this is not like obviously this is an idea, and this is not even the first announcement of a brewery in a ballpark in Wisconsin. Remember, our friends over at Wisconsin Brewing announced that they were building a brewery over there, and I actually have a little update. Theirs is in Wisconsin Brewing Company ballpark or park in Oconomowoc. That's the home of the Lake Country Dockhounds, which is like an independent pro, like kind of a low, I don't want to say low level, but it's not affiliated with minor league baseball in any way.
Right.
It's that kind of level of ball. And that's out in Oconomowoc. They've got a 5-barrel brewery and tap room there, which is bigger than the Leinie's one, which is kind of interesting. And I got a little update on the Lake Louis. It's called the Lake. Remember, Wisconsin is now the parent company of Lake Louis beers, and the Wisconsin Brewing branded beers are going away. Like as we speak, we had Paul Verdew, the president of Wisconsin Brewing, on last month, and they so that brewery at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park is called, it's kind of a mouthful, Lake Louis Brewing the Dock House in Wisconsin Brewing Company Park. It's a little bit of a semantic mouthful there, but we got an update there. That is opening on January 18th. And it's going to be open Wednesday through Friday until the baseball season starts in, I think their season starts in May. And I think we reported last month that the first beer brewed on that system was a Vienna lager, and that's in the Bright Tank now, I'm told. And I think it was just yesterday that they brewed the second beer, which is a porter. So looking forward to checking that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As is, every month it seems that we have at least one opening of a brewery in Wisconsin, and December's no.
Yeah,
we've got more openings. I can't believe it.
The March the openings march on. The big one I think is Cool City Brewing, which is one that we've talked about. This is a brewery and coffee shop combination in downtown Two Rivers. That one opened last weekend, so they are open now. You should go check them out if you're in northeastern Wisconsin. Could be maybe not. I mean, I was gonna say it could be a nice little road trip, but I don't know if that's a good idea this weekend. Yikes.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's looking pretty bad.
Maybe Sunday.
Sunday. If you're off Sunday's Christmas.
Oh, it's Christmas. So wait till next week.
Whatever. Next week, if you're off and you want to do a little road trip, check out
There
Cool City Brew. You could even go during the day and get some coffee and a beer.
Sure.
That's our friends at Venture Brewing or Venture Brew Co. are the specialists at that here in Milwaukee. And then there's one other opening. This one's in Milwaukee. It's a kind of opening. So Copper Turtle Brewing. I think we've talked about them. It's a new brewery down in the 3rd Ward. I think it's some talent and money from Illinois. We're not going to hold that against them, Milwaukee, right? But they're building out the space down in the 3rd Ward, which is a very urban part of kind of downtown, near the not far from the public market. Visitors will know. Used to be a great sandwich shop called Bavette, and they're building out, or they have built out a brewery, and they've got their first 2 beers are ready, and they've been doing like a little pop-up shop in their own place. So I'm guessing there must be some licensing issues that's not quite secured yet. We know that from Lion's Tail that
right.
Oh crapola. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Just had a little concern about my battery running out here. But so I don't know. It looks to me like they're waiting on a permit or something, or not a permit. That would see our friend Mark Garthwaite always gets on me about that. It's a permit. You need a permit for brewing. You need licenses to sell and do bathroom things. So, in any case, they're doing free samples, and then you can buy 4-packs of their of 2 beers. They have Current Rider IPA and Zest for Life Citrus Agave Pale Ale. No word yet on when they'll actually open for service, but hopefully that's soon.
Yeah.
And then the yang to the opening yin is an unfortunate one. This news just broke today. This is also in Milwaukee. Stubby's Gastropub, which is a really nice beer bar, not a brewery, but a really good. It was definitely one of the standard bearers for the past decade or so in Milwaukee beer. It's closing on Friday. It is, I guess, a really nice and pretty spacious spot right on the Milwaukee River, kind of on the edge of the east side and up toward River West. It's just a few blocks down from Lakefront Brewery, and they're closing. It's a bummer. Brad Todd certainly seems like a good dude. I've met him a few times, and Stubby's was something like 40 tap, like that. Really kind of a forerunner in like the come get whales and try a whole bunch of different beers in Milwaukee. I wouldn't say a forerunner, but certainly one of the standard bearers for good beer bars in Milwaukee. So I'm bummed to see that one close.
That is a bummer. Yeah.
Good food.
Yeah. I've seen too many closings this year too, but at least we've got the openings to go along with it, I guess. So.
Yep. Speaking of which.
Yeah. The year in beer. Who knew?
Yeah.
We're almost at the end of our year.
That's right. This is a little report that the Brewers Association put out. So this is national stuff, but I think it's of interest. Obviously for Wisconsin. It's kind of a bird's eye view on the whole industry as we wrap up the year, and some interesting stuff. I mean, consistent with what we've talked about all year, they've tallied more than 550 openings versus 200 plus closings, and I haven't followed this super closely, but I'm guessing that that's probably a record high on closings. It's certainly, well, I mean, they don't usually say how many. Well, I don't know. This is an unusual. Everything that we were worried about in 2020 when we started the Badger Beer Hour, and we talked about it a lot. Especially this time of year, last year. If you want something to survive, you got to support it.
Yeah.
And I think this is that some of that pain from the pandemic and the slow recovery finally meeting the, we just can't do this anymore. And maybe people were hoping that the rebound would come faster or, something else, market conditions would change or something, but, it's remained really tough out there. Some of the challenges that they cited were that the Brew Association cited were competition and shelf space remains a big issue. Supply chain challenges obviously have been a really big thing, but kind of in a different, here's some of the things they highlighted. Barley and hops have remained really expensive, but there were better harvests in 2022 than last year's harvests were really bad, and it was particularly with barley. But those high prices have kind of endured. So, and one of the factors is hop acreage has declined actually in the United States, and then Europe had its worst hop harvest in decades, is what they said. So, which that could be. I mean, some of that will remain local to Europe, but I think a lot of American brewers would prefer to use American hops, but certain styles, of course, like noble hop, I mean, your German Pilsners, your most of the Pilsners that you'd have, and a lot of the traditional old world styles, those are really require European hops. They're fundamentally different product. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, in the next 6 to 9 months probably is when you'll see that affected. And then something that we don't really talk about, because like you probably don't even think about it when you're drinking a beer, but CO2 prices have gone way up, and that's something that we haven't really talked about at all on the show. Actually, did we do an item on New Glarus's new CO2 system? I don't think we did. They put out a press release, and they talked about this a little bit on their podcast too, which maybe we should talk about that too. But they installed a carbon capture system for their, I think it's just like a standard, and like for brewing, and energy, almost any energy expenditure. I don't know, when you have CO2, and they I guess I assume it's like heating the brew kettle and stuff like that. So they installed a carbon capture system that essentially gives them free CO2, and then obviously takes the greenhouse gas from being emitted. So kind of a double whammy. And they were particularly excited about like the timing of that with this big CO2 shortage. So I mean, obviously not every brewery is going to be using a lot of CO2, but depending on, as you scale up, there's going to be a lot more with that. So that was interesting. And then this report also had some predictions for 2023. And I'm just going to read these verbatim so I don't, skew their thing. They say the openings will be lowest in over a decade. It's interesting. Craft volume will not grow. Supply chain will remain rocky, but collectively average prices will come down from 2022 peaks. That's good news for everybody, including us.
Yeah.
And then total brewery employment will still grow.
Wow.
So that's kind of an interesting combination of things there. Not super rosy outlook, I would say, but of course, like, this is going to vary so much brewery by brewery, depending on your brewery age and kind of their cachet and what they specialize in, and location is going to matter a ton. So interesting stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. You kind of figured we were really, really starting to ramp up in 2019. You had to figure during the pandemic that a lot of these breweries were probably it was either going to be feast or famine. And I was kind of surprised that a lot of them held on as long as they did. With can shortage, I even knew of some that had bottled and switched over to cans right before the can shortage. So they sold all of their bottling equipment. So they had no choice but to can.
Right.
And then, just go to your local grocery store when you talked in there about the supply chain and shelf space. It's tough. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't sell, your local grocer or your liquor store is not going to want, or is not going to give you as many, facings anymore.
Right.
So it's tough. Most of these breweries make, and I could be wrong about this, but I think they make more money if they sell the glass of beer in the tap room.
Oh yeah. That's universal. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to see more of a push to get people back into the brewery rather than to keep pushing beer out into the can, because they make more money that way.
Right. Yeah, and that's not like just like hawking profits. That's for most breweries that's now an essential part of their bottom line. So
that's any business. You gotta make money. Yeah. To stay afloat, you have to make money. It's not being greedy. It's just I need to stay afloat here. That's, it's just the bare bones of it.
And I think it's a good time to remind folks that, this is the after next week, essentially, or after New Year's Eve.
Yep.
This is basically the major doldrums. This is the slowest period by far, January and February for breweries almost universally. People just aren't going out as much. They're not buying as much beer for home at either at home or at a tap room. So if you feel like going out on a Friday night and usually go to a bar or something, consider swinging by a brewery for a couple pints before heading over there, or on the way home, or whatever, or just go there, or swing by. And we talked about this a lot. When you cut out the distributor tier from, nothing against distributors, but if you're looking to support your brewery in a tough time, going to their place and buying their beer from their cooler at that puts an extra 30% markup. Even if it's the same price, it puts an extra 30% of that sale price in their pocket. So it's essentially the same deal as, it's not the same deal, but being able to not go through a distributor for that beer is a big difference to the bottom line. So
absolutely,
these little ways that you can, if you're someone, buy a sweatshirt, buy a hat, whatever, that stuff is all external from just the kind of the normal. It's kind of icing. So those are all good ways to support a brewery if you're looking to do so this winter. And if you like a brewery, now's the time to support them.
And if you don't like being around people in general, January is the best time to go.
That's right.
Not only just because of what Chris said, but there's a lot of dry January going on. So there's going to be even less people out.
Yeah. I should pull some numbers. Maybe next month. I'll pull some numbers on like January, February versus peak months for various breweries, because they report all that stuff to the state month by month, and their barrel sales and production. I don't know if it's sale. I think it's production. Not sure, but and it's pretty interesting, like how different it is. We think of it kind of as like, well, if beer is just kind of a part of your life, then you just you don't think about how much less you drink during a certain time, or how much less maybe everybody drinks during a certain time. But there's some pretty significant differences there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got some beer rankings in here to finish news out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not usually a big fan of these like study and rank your city and kind of stories, but I thought this one was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The curmudgeon that I am, of course. So this is a ranking by smartasset.com. Get it? And I don't know what they do, but I don't really care. But they ranked the best cities for beer drinkers, and that sounds like it's a good concept. But you have to know what you're putting in to understand and appreciate what you get out of these things. So the factors that they considered were the total number of breweries, which makes sense, I guess. The total number of breweries per 100,000 residents, which makes more sense. The density of breweries.
Yep.
The population. The average number of beers per brewery. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So like Madison probably gets a boost because like Youngblood has like 300 beers or something. I don't know. But then like they've only been around for like 2+ years. So are they less than like a brewery like Lakefront that's been around forever? I don't know. Doesn't say. Surprising. Okay. And then the number of bars per 100,000 residents. And once you understand that is a factor, you will understand why there are 3 Wisconsin breweries or Wisconsin cities in the top 20, sorry.
Yeah.
And then also a factor, I think, in pushing up Wisconsin is the average price for a pint of domestic draft beer, which I don't know where that comes. Actually, I do know where that comes from. Hold on. I got this thing right over here. Here it is. Where is it? Here it is. Data comes from Numbeo.com and was pulled in January of 2022. All right, whatever. So, okay, but one thing is interesting to note is the average for that figure is 468. And here we have Milwaukee was number 3. Milwaukee, woo, number 3. All right.
Yeah.
We've got 33 breweries, which seems, yeah, maybe that's about right. Okay. Number of breweries per 100,000 was 5.8, which is actually lower than, well, I'll get there. The average number of beers per brewery is 55.6. Okay. I guess is Miller count, because like that's like 3.
Sure.
Okay. And then the average pint was $4.
Okay.
So Green Bay was number 13, you guys. Titletown. They only have 8 breweries, but that's 7.5 per 100,000, because they're exactly 100,000.
Right.
And way high on the number of bars per, or number of, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I bet you that's hold on. I got bad data.
That's probably got to be number of bars per 100,000, because
no, that's beers. It's beers. The 75 is beers per brewery. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. Here, and then 375 was the average pint price, so that's almost $1 less than the national average.
Yeah.
And then Madison was 19, tied for 19th. 15 breweries, 5.6 breweries per 100,000. So actually lower density of breweries than Milwaukee. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
76.7, slightly higher in beers per brewery, and then 425. The most expensive pint in Wisconsin is in Madison. Average. I don't know. Does this stuff mean it? Okay, hold on. Here's something instructive. Number 1 and 2. Guess the number 1 city in. Well, you probably know it because you saw the thing. But guess the number 1 city.
See, I've seen it. I saw it, but I never would have guessed it. I would have thought Oregon.
Yeah,
somewhere. I would have thought somewhere out west.
When we think about this through like the stuff that we care about, it's like it's always like Portland, Chicago, Denver, Asheville. What do we got? Grand Rapids used to be in there.
Yeah.
San Diego is in there a lot. Seattle, I guess. Like, places where there's a bunch of really good breweries.
Right.
And I mean, nothing against Milwaukee, obviously. Like, we have a bunch of really good breweries, but Green Bay being above I mean, not, like, again, not besmirching anything that's there, but like, I don't think a lot of people are going to Green Bay from like Tennessee to go, check out some breweries and stuff.
Probably not.
Anyway, number 1, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Steel City was number 1 for beers drinkers in this study, and then number 2 was Bend, Oregon, which maybe that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really care about that, but that is the news for December. I told you it was a little bit of a slow month. All right. One of the reasons that the news segment, I was going to say it was kind of short, but it's already 8:30. So I guess we kind of just drag that out a little bit. Sorry for the lack of density and intensity in that news segment. But one thing that definitely would have been in there if it weren't being covered here in the interview segment is the news out of Madison with Funk Factory and Black Rose Blending. So I'm pleased to welcome Kyle Metz to the show. Kyle, you coming in here? There we are.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, Kyle, welcome to Badger Beer Hour.
Yeah. Glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me on.
Awesome. So just I'm going to do a little bird's eye view of this story here. So the Funk Factory tap room, which was opened by Levi Funk in 2015, will become Black Rose Blending Company. Funk Factory will continue to be made at that I can't call it a brewery. It's a facility on Gilson Street, barrel house essentially, and also in the Metz Fooders at Blacksack in St. Paul, where they've been for a couple of years. So, or a year plus something.
Yeah, it's been just about 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Right about pre-pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's the way that we tell time now is
yes,
before or after. Okay. So, and Kyle is the man behind Black Rose Blending. So, first of all, Kyle, there's a lot of continuity here. How long have you been with Funk Factory, and what has your role been?
Yeah, so I started Funk Factory August 2017, so about a month and a half after the tap room actually opened. Kind of just doing, helping out bottle, picking up bartending shifts, some kind of small stuff here and there, and then gradually kind of gaining more roles. It's just kind of one of the beauties of a small company is that you get to do a lot of different stuff and you gain a lot of experience, like with the production side, taproom side, doing merchandise, to my role now being the head of operations and essentially running the business. But yeah.
Okay.
It kind of started off as being in the right place at the right time and then progressed, and here we are.
Okay. So, you've had a kind of a defined role in actually producing some of the beer over the past, what has it been, like a year plus?
The better part 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
The better part 2 years.
So tell us about this is the Saison Botanique series, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. And even beyond that,
Okay.
I've more or less had a role in just about every beer that we've had come out in the last almost 2.5 years. But the Saison Botanique series, Saison has always been something that I've been more interested in. Obviously, Levi starting Funk Factory, that was kind of never his original intent to, not that he doesn't like those beers, but he definitely wanted to focus on doing like the true lambic inspired stuff. And then I kind of, just with the tap room, trying to keep it open 5 days and needing some variety, that idea kind of evolved beyond originally what he had planned for. And then in comes this Saison, where you have like more freedom. You can use different grains, hops. You're not restricted to one specific recipe. It's kind of like, bourbon versus like gin or something. You have much more freedom, which has always intrigued me for sure. Kind of discovering those Belgian beers and like just like this indescribable magic they had, and seeking more of them out and learning more about them and wanting to brew them. So Saison Botanique was really, just kind of wanting to explore that idea more, do a lot of like herbal stuff, different teas, flowers and stuff that, we're really not using for the lambic inspired stuff.
Right.
Just kind of something different, something that appealed to me more than the original intent of the business, I guess you could say.
Okay. So talk to us about Black Rose and what that will be. Are you looking to kind of do, how much continuity is there going to be? Like what are we going to see from Black Rose?
For sure. We are definitely still going to be very much rooted in like the mixed culture, barrel fermented, barrel aged beers. That's not going to change. Instead of being focused on the more lambic side of things, definitely, like the Saison stuff or the loose wild ale terminology. Can use whatever grains I want, whatever hops, whatever barrels, herbs, fruits, whatever. So very much rooted in that. And one of the reasons why I did not want to call it Black Rose Brewing Company, I kind of wanted to leave it open to be able to explore, natural wines, kind of funky barrel fermented ciders, even a mead here and there, kind of stuff that I've, grown interested in, along the journey.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about that journey. Like what are some of your influences and inspirations, and I guess like in beer generally, but obviously particularly within this kind of mixed firm space.
For sure. So when I think everything starts when I came of age. I was actually going to school in Utah, which, if you know anything about that,
Yeah.
there's not many options for someone exploring craft. Or I'm sure it's got better now, but it was definitely pretty sparse, which in retrospect I think was actually a positive thing, because you don't have a lot of variety, but what you do have is like the classics, like the Orval, Chimay, Rochefort, the Westmalle, all those cool Belgian beers. So like that's kind of what I cut my teeth on, and like it kind of set the groundwork. And then I kind of explored from there, like looking for different American producers of the style. I remember driving back from Utah to my folks' house in Wisconsin on breaks, and stopping in Colorado and going to Funkworks and Crooked Stave, and just being exposed to that type of stuff, and just kind of falling in love with it, and seeing the variety that's out there. I was just like amazed by the flavors and the processes. And I think that more recently, obviously keeping in mind my original love, I kind of started to kind of fall out of interest with beer with the advent of all these super hazy beers and the seltzers and the pastry stouts and the overfruited kettle sours. There's definitely a pastry boy inside of me. Don't get that confused. But at that point, I definitely experiment. I tried, explored natural wines, some of the funky European ciders, more cocktails, and kind of like dissecting those and seeing like what goes into those, and even more so like what herbs go into this liqueur, and how can I kind of bring that back to the beer world. But yeah, and always in the back of my mind, kind of that original love for like the Belgian style beers and the saisons, that kind of funky sour stuff.
Yeah.
So now, with more influences feeding into that.
Yeah. Obviously these are, I guess I kind of assume that a lot of these, or most of, maybe all of these, are kind of slow beers, in that they there's a lot of barrel aging time, and that all those bugs take time, the sweet spot of where you want the flavors to be, and then as you blend. So what can you, I assume that you have, like, based on the timeline that we'll talk about in a second, that you have some of this stuff in the works already, under the Black Rose banner. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I've had stuff in bottles for over a year now.
Oh, okay.
Back before, I originally intended to kind of have it be like a side project within Funk Factory, and then how things kind of developed. Talking to Levi, he kind of he has so much going on. So with Untitled Art, the young family, it made sense for him to kind of step back from certain things. So it just kind of transpired that I could potentially take this over.
Okay.
So I'd originally intended on having it be kind of a side project, and now it's more of my main thing.
Now it's your whole project.
It is my whole project, yes, for sure.
Cool. So tell us about some of the beers that are in the works already.
Yeah, I love gin barrel aged beers. So I have 4 of those on deck and ready to go.
Wow.
If you are a member, your first 2 beers will be gin barrel aged, I promise. I have another beer. Actually, Walker over, I don't know if you're Walker fanning over at Hidden Cave Cidery in Middleton. I reached out to him because I wanted to learn how to use like rose hips, because I know he has a cider with rose hips. So he had taught me kind of how to process those and essentially make like a rose hip tea, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So it stays on with rose, with that was kind of conditioned on that tea, and then also rose petals. That's a really interesting, like, well, what drew you to the rose hips from a flavor aroma standpoint? Honestly, I just really loved the cider that he did with that. And I was like, I've never used that before. Like, I don't even know how to begin processing that or how to use it. It's entirely foreign to me. So yeah, kind of just drawing inspiration from other stuff I've had and reaching out to the people that actually produce this stuff and be like, hey, how do I do this?
Yeah, but the rose hip itself, it's that like kind of tart but floral.
Yeah, to me it almost has like kind of like an apple like sweetness to it, I want to say. If it does have a tartness, I don't pick up on it quite as much because
Okay.
it probably meshes with the tartness given off by the mixed cultures that I
Yeah,
mentioned.
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anything else that you can kind of tease for us here?
Yeah, so I'm also, again, like why I didn't, calling it a blending company, I do want to pursue wines and ciders. Um, and I have, well, not technically either of those. I don't know if you're familiar with the term piquette,
Mhm.
but I have a couple piquettes on deck. So
Can
prep
you
from,
explain kind of what that is for us?
yeah, it's kind of analogous to like what Mirtz is to lambic. It was traditionally like the second runnings. So basically, after you press the grapes, with the intention of making wine, you'd rehydrate the pomace with water. There's even some cool like natural wineries that have done this with like apple juice and kind of made like a cool cider hybrid, which I would love to do at some point, not to steal people's ideas, but but yeah. So you basically rehydrate the pomace and let it continue to ferment over a few days, and then run that liquid, and then what you're left with is kind of like a wine adjacent low ABV sparkling beverage. So I'll have some of those on tap in the summertime. Looking forward to that.
Nice.
But
Are these well, I mean, what kind of a, like, I mean, I'm just thinking of like the regulatory mess that could potentially present. Like,
yes,
what do you have set up as far as like because cider requires a wine license, right?
correct.
And then, or winery license, and then obviously the beer is another thing.
Yes,
So
they are,
how,
they are two
do you have
separate.
like all these I guess,
Yeah.
well, I guess that would only be 2 permits from those 3.
Yep. Just brewery and winery
Okay.
license.
Okay.
Yep. And
That's
I've been pretty. So we currently have at Funk Factory have a manufacturer's license, which allows us to produce anything, even distill if we wanted to.
oh, okay. Okay.
So that facility is currently licensed to do all of those things, and then I will, have my own brewery and winery license
Okay.
to continue on into the
And
future.
and one of the things that I find kind of interesting, I mean, the Funk Factory will remain a going concern, as I kind of said in the front, but how is that going to work with kind of working together in that facility? Is that, it sounds like that's the plan. Lay out how that relationship's going to continue.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's not going to be as much of a regular thing as that. It's kind of at the more at the whim of Levi. If he wants to do like a blend or two, maybe another one a year, um, I'm kind of like allowing him to use the space to do so.
Okay.
And so the old barrel stock that we built up from, like our lambic inspired stock over like multi vintages,
Mhm.
he can utilize that if he wants. It's really at the whim of Levi how much or how little he wants to produce. He might not want to do any this year. He might want to do 5 of them. It's kind of at the whim of him. It's not going to be a regular thing.
Okay.
I think that the Mirts that we have up at Blackstack will come out in more regularity than kind of the more like higher end, slower stuff that may come out of this facility.
Okay.
And kind of the beauty with that is that he's obviously still owns the brand, and he can kind of go wherever he wants. Like if at some point it doesn't make sense to do it at my facility, he could go. He has options. He has freedom.
Mhm.
He can continue that really wherever he chooses.
Right. Uh, Obviously, Funk Factory and that facility is not a brewery.
Mhm.
So where are you're sourcing wort from? Like, how's that working?
Yeah, so we do still source. So in the past year, I've mainly been sourcing from either Clint over at Working Draft, or I'll hit up Kirby at Wisconsin if I need like a larger quantity. But I've mainly been kind of pulling from those two.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
I always find it interesting because, I mean, like with the Saison, for example, like that's not, I mean, like, with lambic, it's usually a pretty I don't want to say like neutral, I guess, brew.
mhm.
But a Saison, like, there's some weird grains going on in there. Like, it feels like a different asking some a relatively neutral base beer for a lambic versus, say, a although I guess I don't know. Why don't I ask you if how that works?
For sure. The type of saison, this could be like another discussion for another day, but I think there's like kind of like two preconceived notions of what that is. There's like like your kind of Franco-Belgian example, like DuPont or Blaugy.
Yeah, the archetype, right?
Exactly. Like a yeast-driven, like Belgian, usually like a kind of like a golden ale. But then I think at a certain point, there's saison that's more of like saison is a mindset instead of like a style.
Right.
Because you see breweries like Fantôme, like those are all marketed saison. None of those two bottles are alike, and some of those, if I poured those for you blind, you'd be like, "What? You would not recognize that as like the DuPont, like that archetypal example." But so yeah, it's kind of one of those weird things where there is that preconceived notion, but also it's so much more. So kind of my approach, I still kind of take the same approach as we do to lambic, where it doesn't have to be a super complex base recipe, because these are very much going to be yeast and bacteria driven beers throughout that oak aging process, and then you add in fruit and potentially fruit or other ingredients, and we still rely so heavily on blending, like with a preconceived notion in mind of what we want the flavor profile to be, and very well knowing that all these barrels are going to progress differently. So you're kind of piecing together a puzzle. So
and when you say
is approaching it still like a simple wort production. Yeah.
Okay. So and when you said barrels, each barrel will be different. You mean like wood barrels?
Correct.
This is all wood aged, all wood aged beer.
Yes, I do. Well, I have one steel tank, but kind of with the intention to create like some cleaner blending stock, clean-ish.
But that would all be blended in with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So 95% of this is going to be oak fermented.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me see. I'm catching up on my questions. We kind of covered a lot of this. Okay. So what's next? Funk Factory remains open, right?
Yes. So we are running Funk Factory until the end of the year.
Okay.
So if you want to get in and like get a last glass in, now's the time.
Okay.
Final holiday party on Friday the 30th.
Okay.
And then kind of like we'll be open for a short window on the 31st, kind of like a kill the glass or keep the glass kind of day. Discounted drafts, and then take home the glass. And
that sounds like a good visit.
Remember and sell it.
Those are good glasses.
Yeah, they are good glasses. Yep.
All right. And then you actually have a grand opening date? Is that
tentatively?
Okay.
I'm not doing anything structural inside the tap room. It's going to be mostly cosmetic. So
okay,
all goes to plan. I should be open March 4th. I believe that's a Saturday, the first Saturday in March.
You know it's a Saturday. Come on. You know what day of the week it is.
Oh, I know.
All right, March 4th.
That is the tentative day.
Okay, so that's 2 months of doing. What are we going to see? What's the new look? What's the new vibe?
Yeah, so first I'm going to start with kind of putting all my resources into making the tap room look different. I definitely want to really still focus on, I'm more on the art side of things and in all aspects, not just with beer and cooking, but so I really want to make it a hub for local artists, like open up my wall space to different mediums, maybe do like cool movie nights. Guy working for me, Zach, a good friend of mine, he's really into film, so I was like, dude, maybe we could do like a cool movie night once in a while, like something obscure or artsy. Music, stuff like that. I'd love to put in like an arcade game of some sort. I'm looking into that, whether it be pinball or kind of some classic
cool
pinball or I don't know, like Simpsons or Rampage or I don't know, something cool like that.
You mean
we're looking at options?
Okay, all right, cool.
And then in the summertime, definitely want to kind of like lean more into being bike friendly, or more bike friendly than we currently are. We're right on the
that's such a good spot. I mean,
Great.
you are so central to all of Madison. You know, for those who don't know, Funk Factory is on the south side of the kind of the isthmus between the two lakes, and so you can come at it from just about anywhere in the city, and it's a kind of a reasonable bike ride from just about anywhere.
Yeah, so I'd love to just increase the bike parking. And one of the things that I really love, especially as a big cyclist, is those like portable, or not portable, but those little like bike repair stands you see everywhere with little tools and a pump. I would love to look into putting one of those in, because there's not really one over there. That's a nice way to lure people into have a beer or two.
Yeah, and how close are you? What's the trail? What's the trail that runs through that area? Is that the
that would be the capital
city? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, very cool. Is there any way that how can people get their hands on Black Rose beer? Is that even a thing yet, or do they have to wait until March?
I will be running a membership program, and I have started to kind of compile a wait list for that. I think I have 20 slots left until I need to shut it down for 2023. But you can go on the website, so www.blackroseblendingco.com, and sign up, and then I will get back to you as soon as I can set up a POS system and accept your payment. But my intention is to do a lot of like small batch releases, direct to consumer right out of the tap room. So once we hit the ground rolling in March, kind of just go from there.
Nice. One last question. What about the name Black Rose?
Yeah, Black Rose Blending Company. I think it's I look at it two ways. For one, I've always been kind of interested in like skateboard art and tattoo art, graffiti art, kind of different like subcultural things. So I don't know. To me, like the name Black Rose, it just sounded cool. It kind of fit in with that. And on the other side of that, when I think of rose, when most people think of a rose, I think of like this beautiful, kind of elegant flower. And I want to produce, beautiful, elegant liquids, but kind of presented in this atypical way. I want to let people know that, we don't have to follow tradition. We can experiment. We can use different ingredients and processes and kind of get a little weird with it. So to me, that's kind of, it's kind of a peek into our blending philosophy, but also like kind of the aesthetic and the art direction we might take.
Awesome. Yeah. Beauty, elegance. Obviously there's like the botanical aspect of the rose too. I mean, but then it's also a little metal with the black.
It could be. And we'll just keep it a little weird. It'll be atypical.
Oh, the thorns on there too. That's
also strange things. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to mention? I know we covered a lot of ground, but anything else that we didn't cover?
I just want to say thanks for all the everyone who supported myself and everyone else at Funk Factory over the years, and everyone who's already showed kind of interest in the next phase. I sincerely appreciate that, and I kind of can't wait to see what the future brings. And of course, thank you guys for inviting me on. I appreciate that.
Of course, that makes me. I have just that notion. I kind of want to explore that a little bit. Like there is this kind of like I was thinking of it like, is it like a family? Like, is this a divorce, or is this like a marriage or something? Because obviously, like Funk Factory is going to continue, but you're also like you've been integral to Funk Factory over the past. Like, there's such an interesting relationship there of like, the old and the new, and I mean it's not like Funk Factory is like ancient or anything like that either. Sure. So
but yeah, definitely creates me. So I mean, I have a very amicable relationship with Levi. Like, he's cool with all this. He's supportive. So we're all good. And actually, a good friend of mine, Zach, who I mentioned before, who is currently like our taproom manager / events guy, he will be coming along with me to the new spot to do that stuff and also help me out with production. He's like actually my soul dude, helped me out with production. We'll have a bartender carryover as well. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be kind of bittersweet ending that, but some of the same stuff will carry over and kind of evolve and develop over time.
Awesome. All right, Kyle. Well, thanks for joining us. Best of luck these next couple months, getting everything ready, and can't wait to try some Black Rose beer.
Hey, I can't wait to share it with you.
Natural, all the stuff, Black Rose beverages.
And if you come to the holiday party on the 30th, I will be previewing some bottles. So
okay, there you go.
Snag a pour and see what's to come.
All right, I think you guys know what you're doing on December 30th, Madison, folks. All right.
I never know how to end that one. I thought I had it right, but
you just cut Chris off.
He's talking.
He doesn't know how to end it either. Just cut him off.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't want to cut off the guest. The guest was cool.
It's so hard to say goodbye, isn't it?
It is.
Yes, it is.
So Midwest goodbye in a live format.
Yeah, what y'all didn't see on the screen there was that I kept sending messages in our private chat because I'm just really excited about what Kyle's going to bring to the Madison scene. It's fun. All these different like ciders and wines. I mean, that's just fun. You don't have to like it, but it creates a fun environment for people to, for me to bring all my friends and, not necessarily my beer friends. And
right.
I just like how he's like so out of the box with his thinking. Like, I don't think we've seen anybody recently like the way this man thinks. So I just hope that all that works out. It looks great. I can't wait. And yeah, Kyle, I'll probably be there. I'll probably see you on the 31st or the 30th, weather permitting, of course.
I mean, one thing that I think beer like this really opens up is like, I mean, now at this point, when we walk into a traditional brewery, we've seen just about everything, haven't we?
Right.
I mean, I just finished a salted caramel stout. I mean, like it was good, but it's like there's nothing that we can that's going to really not much anyway. That's really going to surprise us. Well,
right.
Where the interest comes from is execution. Maybe mashing up two styles or something like that. But I mean, we're 15 years into this of like really the next, like really accelerating innovation and new ideas and really like probably 5 years into this, everything has to be new. Everything has to be different. Well, we can go into a tap room like that and have everything will be nothing like anything that we've ever had before, probably, so that's kind of what I'm like. What is 3 or 4 barrels aged in beers aged in gin barrels? Like, I don't even really like gin barrels, at least the ones that I've had.
Yes, I'm with you.
That, and especially, using blending to kind of tone that down, maybe, it opens up so much possibility. Whereas, like I'm talking about gin barrel OG from Milwaukee Brewing. I did not like that. But that's like, dude, that's like one thing. And it's like, we put it in the gin barrel and now it says, but maybe,
he's blending.
He would maybe, he would be drawing like maybe, 10% of that beer would be aged in gin barrels, or 20%, or, whatever. And then all the different combinations of stuff. I mean, that's what's exciting about Supermoon. It's what was exciting about, it's what's exciting about 18 Degree. It's what was exciting about Like Minds way back in the day. Oh my gosh, remember that?
Yeah, Like Minds. Yeah, I forgot about them.
Like this kind of brings us back in time almost to a point where we can be trying a whole bunch of new beers when we go to a place, and it's all new and exciting, and we get to explore. It's that exploration factor.
Yes.
So, that's very exciting.
Holla. I literally signed. All right, literally went on this waiting list while you were talking. I'm not messing around, man. Like, right. And I think he said it too during the first part of the interview, was that like, he liked, part of it sounded like he didn't say these words, but it sounded like part of what's driving him is this whole hazy and everything juicy and everything, almost like the Bay, like everything that Landon. I'm sure he was singing to you, Landon, on that. Am I wrong or no? Like
he didn't mention marshmallow.
No, but you know what I'm. Landon, you're that guy. You were screaming, "I want a Pilsner that tastes like a damn Pilsner," like 3 years or 4 years ago. So what's going on, fellas? I actually saw Chris Drosler in the flesh once.
Yes.
Whoa.
It was good.
It was fun. We were at the biopic. I forget what it was called. I'm bad, getting old.
It was called The Fifth Element.
Fifth Element, yes.
Black, Brown, and Bruce.
Yeah, and Funky Town Brewing was amazing. Y'all need to catch them over at Pilot Project. More Brewing was fun. I mean, they were all fun. It was a great time. And it was just cool to be back in that setting. As far as I know, no one was sick. No one got sick. Everybody's cool. So it was a great time. Speaking of a great time, Landon, do we have any events? Because we kind of skipped over that.
We just got just a few. A couple that I had in there were just some local ones. Christmas Eve here at Modicum, Santa's going to show up. That I hear.
A fucking sleigh or what? How the hell's it? How are they going to get there?
Man, he's going to get there.
Okay,
and
and
Eric
in a 76.
Yeah, you'd probably be.
That's what Santa rides,
you'd be in a 76 Dodge 3500 or something like that, diesel. Yeah. So Eric, that we've had on this show before, who owns Modicum, and his father-in-law Mike, who is also a co-owner, they're going to be bartending the entire day. All the tips that they get that day will go to our Humane Society here in Eau Claire County, which now is completely full. They are looking for foster parents even just over the holidays because it is so full. Yeah.
All right, y'all hear that?
Yeah. So it'll go to them to alleviate some of the food issues, the kitty litter, all those issues that they have, and then hopefully find forever families for some of these pets.
Great cause. Okay, that's Christmas Eve. If y'all, if I think it should have blown through by then, literally, but
I think at least for us, the snow is supposed to be over by tomorrow, and I think the concerns are supposed to be mostly wind. So I think if you're driving in town, you might be all right. But
all right, Landon, what else you got?
Let's see, what else do I got? That's a good question.
You said a couple of things up your way. I don't know if anything going down here. But Kyle did drop though the 30th and the 31st, y'all. Last sip of Funk Factory in that how about in that space. Funk Factory will be Kyle said it'll still live on somewhere, so we'll be able to get it. But I think details need to be all worked out, and we'll see what happens. But 30th and 31st down at the old Funk Factory. I'll probably be there one of those days, weather permitting. What else you got, Landon?
Trap Rock, which is over in St. Croix Falls, so the extreme west part of this state. They are having a 4-year beer anniversary celebration tomorrow night, and of course that's probably weather permitting, although people that live over there are a little more apt to go out in bad weather. They're going to have bingo, white elephant dice games, pizza, merch discounts,
right,
all that good stuff.
Cool.
And then Chris gave me one that, again, this is weather permitting, Indeed Brewing in Milwaukee on Friday from noon to 5. They're going to have a lineup of local Milwaukee vendors so that you can pick up your last-minute locally made holiday gifts.
Oh.
So the
good
makers...
timing for that, though.
Yeah, the makers market... Makers Market, if it happens, is noon to 5.
Yeah,
right.
I would definitely check ahead on their Facebook to make sure that that's still going on.
And I would say a lot of these, you're going to see a lot of Christmas Eve, at least around here, a lot of Christmas Eve stuff. And then, of course, next week, a lot of these breweries will have New Year's celebrations. So probably the best place is to check social media for all that stuff. They don't really have a lot of it out there right now.
Yeah, and by the day after Christmas, hopefully this shit should be blown through Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And y'all can go spread a lot of your gift cards. And after you return all that shit that you don't like, you can go to a brewery and buy some beer.
Yeah.
So the breweries will be fully open, ready for y'all. Please, again, I'm jumping off what y'all were talking about at the news. So please think of your breweries at this time. Again, especially when you have a little, you get a little extra dough. I know, Landon, we're getting too old to be having money put in envelopes, but it's a pipe dream, right?
Yeah.
It's actually gone the opposite way for me. Like they've stopped giving me like stuff because I'm like, what? They're like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So my parents just give me an envelope of money every year now. So
Oh.
yeah.
I've been getting power tools.
And I do spend a lot of that on beer. Yeah. Like,
Are your
like
parents
there's a
looking to
special
adopt?
release, and I'm like, I keep it in a drawer, and then it's like, okay, I got 2 4-packs of Mystic Knot from Third Space or something like that.
There you go.
By the way, one quick plug.
Do they want another son?
One quick beer plug for the Milwaukee
Yes.
area right now. There's a nice barley wine. It's a tap room only at Third Space. It's called Death Blow. Nice beer. Nice little barley wine. 10%.
Barley wine is life. Yeah.
Tap. It is.
Oh,
It is. I don't know if this is quite. I don't. And it's not quite the banger that like.
Giant Jones.
Those barley wine is life people are crazy. Like they need like, the best barley wine in the country, and then they'll like chug it. And, like Straight Jacket is kind of like the that's like the shelf chuggy. Are you guys in that? You guys aren't in that group, the Facebook? Oh my god, just weirdos, total weirdos in there. I mean, like my very specific type of weird. I say that with love.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they suffer no Midland barley wine, and I'm not saying this is a Midland beer, but it's it's not a like world beater.
All right, y'all doing anything special in the next month? It's gonna be a slow one, right? Y'all
All right, I got something really awesome to talk about. So
yeah.
I'm gonna this might be breaking. This is breaking some news, but Milwaukee Magazine is putting out a beer next
really
month. Yes.
Nice.
It's called Page Turner Pilsner. I am so excited to try it. I cannot
It's a
tell
Pilsner,
you.
Landon.
It's a
Hell
Pilsner.
yeah.
It's gonna be a Pilsner. Your boy designed it. Of course it's gonna
Yes.
be.
Look at that.
I don't know
Cool.
the exact recipe yet, but it's kind of a new age spin or new world spin on a German Pils. With some, I think he's got some New Zealand hops in there, and guess who's making it?
I was gonna say, who's the brewer?
Eagle Park Brewing is making.
Very nice.
So it's for the magazine's 40th anniversary, which is we're launching it in January, and I'm super excited. And don't tell my boss that I told y'all about this.
Are the wannabe media invited? Is there a release party?
There is a release party, and I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to plug it yet, but it is on. Hold on.
Landon, look at you
Looking at my
getting them in
calendar here.
trouble. Look at you.
It's on January 11th.
January 11th.
Soon.
Wednesday, January 11th at the East Side Eagle Park Tap Room, and we'll have the beer there. It's gonna be, I don't know, I'm super excited. And
is it only on
this
tap?
is gonna be like, this is not just like on tap. This is gonna be in stores. We have a can that we designed and everything.
Yes.
It's very cool.
Yes.
I'm very excited, and I hope everybody else is too. It's the beer will be in stores. We're not quite sure which ones yet, but it's all happening. Probably, I mean, it's going to be like out there until it sells out. So depending on how many places it's at, it could be out pretty quick. But it's just like a one turn on their big system out from in Muskego. And I think it's dropping in stores the week after the release.
That's exciting stuff,
Page
man.
Turner Pilsner. It's very cool. And check out the January issue of Mill Mag for an awesome story cover. You can get more information about the beer there.
Are you going to sign some cans and give those away?
I will sign
or
anything that anybody wants to. Yes, anything that anybody wants to. And I'll be there at, most of our staff is going to be there at the party holding court, and I'm sure that I will be hoarse by the end of it because of how much I'm talking.
That is amazing stuff.
That is fun. I don't have anything close as cool as that. So that's really cool.
I didn't mean to upstage anybody.
That's awesome. All right, Landon, anything going your way, or can we wrap this baby up?
No, we can wrap this baby up. Nothing big in my area.
Yeah, man, it's a slow time. So again, like Landon says, this is a really good time actually to get out to your breweries, weather permitting.
Hell yeah.
Y'all be safe out there. We want to sign off by saying have a great Christmas, y'all. We want to thank y'all for y'all watching us, all y'all who does, and trusting us with your news, and trusting Landon and I with the commentary, which I know we can go off the rails here. So,
I know it's not Thanksgiving, but I don't know. I always feel this time of year like I feel very in my emotions and all that.
Yeah.
And gratitude. I feel grateful for everybody who watches this show, and all the feedback that we get, and it's just great. And I'm also grateful for my co-hosts and for this whole thing.
I was gonna say I'm grateful for y'all. Y'all here every month.
You bet.
I mean, y'all missed 1 or 2 months. I've missed 1 or 2. I mean, we've kept this going. It's fun. But we like bringing y'all news, and we like doing it. And I really do actually like hanging around Chris. I know it doesn't seem that way most of the time, but I do. And so, yeah, y'all.
Hey,
any last words for 2022, y'all?
I said it.
It's been a year.
All right. The next Badger Beer Hour is January 18th. Exactly a week after Chris drops his new beer.
Yeah.
So
maybe we'll have a review of Page Turner Pilsner.
Oh yeah.
That's the time to bring back Beer Spotlight, y'all.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to schedule a crappy guest for that month. So the interview is nice and short. No.
Greg's not on board. He's not on board.
No, it'll be an awesome guest, like it always is.
Always, yeah.
We've had awesome guests. Like this whole, been a great run this year, especially. I mean,
here's the part
all of them, but like, I mean, man, we got bangers.
Here's the part where I cut Chris off. Chris was talking to